absolutely pleased to be joined here on ESPN's The Drop with Sabastian, aka FaZe CBass, one of the longest reigning members of FaZe Clan, of course, a juggernaut in content creation and gaming, and also a Toronto native like myself, big hockey fan, great guy. Great to be on the show, CBass. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I really appreciate the praise. I think a little bit more of it is deserved for yourself. But no, great to be joining you guys.
So we met, if I recall correctly, in a giant mansion in San Jose. This was like a crazy NHL activation where they went to one of the board members of the San Jose Sharks' house, Scott McNealy, who also founded the giant tech company Sun Microsystems. But this house was like I want to hear what you remember of it, because this house was like a hockey fan's absolute. This was like if a hockey fan became a billionaire, this would be the perfect house.
Well, no, I think that's literally what happened. I mean, I thought I was on a reality show. It was unbelievable. The house had an indoor gym. Like, not just like, oh, I've got a couple free weights here, maybe I can hit the bench, but like, imagine you're in middle school and it's gym, and you go and you've got the whole court, you've got the nets, you've got the equipment, you've got the locker room, you've got all the tarping, you've got the netting, everything in the house. And if that wasn't enough, there's also an ice rink on the property, on the full rink. Like, I'm fairly certain that I remember his name was Scott. I'm fairly certain he told us that like local high school and college teams came to practice on that rink sometimes when they didn't have availability. Full size, ready to go at any time. At any time.
If memory serves, I went there and did a story on you guys living there, and it was sort of like MTV The Real World Hockey Edition. Yeah. It was crazy. Didn't you guys have NHL players shooting pucks off the roof at some point to try to like score goals?
We did. I don't actually remember. I think it was maybe Mikko Rantanen. I can't fully remember.
I think it was Mikko Rantanen. I think you're right. I was trying to remember that
maybe
myself.
It was.
Yeah. So to set the scene, there was like a roof that was open, and there was like a putting green down below, and we put a hockey net on the putting green, like far away, and you guys were saucing pucks off the roof into the net, which was like down the way. It was hilarious.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah. So long story short, we had fun.
But like you walk around the mansion, it was like there was an entire room dedicated to all of his hockey jerseys. There must have been 1,000 in there. Like, and he had a
Sticks
rotating
too.
belt.
Gretzky, Hal Lemieux, you name it. Everything was signed. Everything was framed. He had it all.
Yeah. Anyway, he actually kept Patrick Marleau chained up in his basement too, from what I remember. He just has him down there.
Marleau was part of the staff. Yeah, he was part of the staff. That's how rich this guy was.
Pretty dope. Now, collaboration obviously is a huge thing for FaZe Clan. You guys worked with everybody from Takashi Murakami to Disney. Now you have a new collaboration, NHL style, with the New York Islanders, including an esports night at UBS Arena on December 6th. Tell me a little bit about working with the Islanders on this.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think at the core of it, collaboration is a fairly commonplace, just moment that happens between brands. I think in this day and age, I think it's a great way for one brand to show either their expression or the things that they'd like to express that they haven't had a lane to through another brand. And so it's almost the common language that the way brands are kind of able to interact with one another. And as you mentioned, we've had a pretty rich history of other entities and other properties and an incredibly strong IP wanting to get more into the gaming world, and being able to work with FaZe Clan as an outlet for that. And also many of them have been us pleading and begging, like, we absolutely love you, let's work together. There's a healthy mix of both, I think. And with all of them, our primary concern is just trying something that we haven't done before, or more importantly, that somebody in our industry, in the gaming side of the internet world, in our little slice of the internet, hasn't done before. Because we at FaZe Clan hold a significant stature within that community, and therefore it's always exciting to us when we're able to try and test something kind of on behalf of our whole industry at large that maybe no one else has tried or attempted or even thought of or wasn't able to do. And those are always the most fun projects for us to work on. And that's what kind of led us towards entertaining this. Because I think, well, one, I'm a massive hockey fan, so that goes without saying, and obviously a Canadian, so I understand the culture and community and passion that comes within this space. But even that aside, I think we've worked with the NBA, or sorry, the NFL. We work with some NBA teams, and so there's obviously not there's many options to choose from as it relates to the popular sports world for us in North America, and even we have a existing relationship with Man City in Europe. So it's not like we don't have options. But what landed us on not only hockey but the New York Islanders, despite obviously the objectively, I'm sure that their audience scale is maybe a little bit smaller than some other teams. They have a pretty rich history, but B, and more importantly, some people on their staff are actually incredibly creative, and are really being given kind of the tools and empowered to break outside the box. And that has allowed us to try some things that we hadn't got to do before. And ultimately, that was what really got us most excited. Even just to give some insight, I was at the NHL GWC this year in Montreal, just as a fan, just wanted to watch the games, and struck up a conversation with Jordan Zelniker, who runs the esports operations for the New York Islanders. And I'll give you the entire conversation towards how this partnership came to existence. Jordan introduces himself. Hopefully it's not a half-hour
conversation.
No. This is about 30 seconds. It's about 30 seconds.
Oh, awesome.
Jordan introduces himself. He says, "Hey, man, love FaZe. Would love, we think you guys are great. Would love to work together sometime." I said, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think our original content house was in Long Island, in fact, in Plainview. So I'm sure there's something for us to do there." And Jordan just starts spinning as soon as I say that. He's like, "Oh, yeah, why don't we do like an esports night where we bring you guys out and we honor the FaZe House New York and we talk to fans about it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And here we are.
Here we are.
That was
just
the
like
entire.
that.
That's how it happened.
Now hold on. You mentioned rich history.
Yeah.
Team hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1983. Isn't this like?
But they've won.
Isn't this like partnering with the Atari 2600?
More recently than my team.
That's true. They did win more recently than the Leafs. That makes total sense now.
Yeah, that'd be better than partnering with a team where video games didn't exist, I suppose. I will say this though, I can't wait for you guys to go to that house, because it's like that house is owned by somebody, right? Like it's just a random family or whatever it may be. So you're gonna I imagine like a bunch of like influential content creators, yourself included, just knocking on the door and then just a random person opening, "Hello?"
So first of all, trust me, it wouldn't be the first time. But we won't make a fuss. We want to certainly respect their privacy.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just love it. It's like, "Oh, I carved my name in the attic. Can I go and check it out?" Like years later, they're like, "Oh, that's cool that you did that." So you mentioned you grew up in Toronto. Obviously, we share that in common, and obviously hockey is very important to people that live in Canada. What are some of your hockey memories?
Oh God, I don't even know where to start. I think for some reference for the audience, I'm 28. I was born in 1994. I think my first memory as like a sentient human is walking into Maple Leaf Gardens and like seeing the lights open up in front of me as I walked in. Like I think everybody has that. Like, here's the first memory at the very back folder in my brain. And I think that's the one for me. I mean, growing up in this city, it's kind of impossible for that not to be important to you, especially when you're, just a young kid looking to make friends at school. Sports is kind of the commonality between people that, you can always use to strike up a conversation about. And especially myself, I wasn't financially blessed enough to be able to grow up playing hockey. It's pretty expensive. And so for me, the biggest outlet to kind of having something in common with all the kids I went to school with was like watching and paying attention to the team. And so I fell in love with it that way, because that allowed me to kind of have, something to talk about. And I think from there, it's kind of just something that never leaves you. And I think even a testament to the fact that I'm a fan of a club that hasn't won a playoff round in 20 years and yet still bleed for them, just speaks to to how deep the roots go with me in the sport.
That's hockey. You live and die with your team. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You've probably thought about this. We've definitely thought about this as somebody who's been in the social media marketing space. How does the NHL, what do they do to reach the kinds of audiences that esports reaches? They're all chasing them. Esports has certainly found a way to crack the code. What could the NHL do to try to reach those audiences?
I think this is a great start, frankly. Again, the part of the reason that we are doing this with the New York Islanders and the way that we are is because them and their team kind of opened their books towards what we wanted to do. It wasn't like, hey, FaZe Clan, here's our tried and true package of things that we're willing to do. Check the ones you like, and then we'll go execute that. It could not have been more opposite to that conversation. It was entirely collaborative, and that's reflected in the fact that they even granted us the right to alter their IP for our collaborative logo that we're using for the merchandise
that
on
was
the night.
Incredible, by the way. The fisherman with doing the FaZe logo is outstanding.
Oh, and trust me, that's what won us over. Again, like we were entertaining the conversation. We were certainly like, we'd love to do something here. Let's figure out how that works. But then they kind of, gave us the floor of like, what do you want to do? Give us your pitches. We showed them, we mocked up the Islanders logo, showed it to them. And we were actually, frankly, blown away that got approved. And once that was something that we learned that was a common interest from both sides to jump into a place like that where we're truly collaborating as brands, and not just like sticking two logos next to each other and saying it's like a new collaboration. That's when we jumped all in, and that's when we started to build out a much bigger activation for what the night has become. And that's a great example, I think. And now we're putting a lot of things into our content stream, or at least we will be on the night of, that don't usually go there, right? Whether it's hockey or New York Islanders or anything in between. And these are the ways that ultimately we're able to start bridging that gap. I think that I'm even personally a massive fan of the NHL game itself. I play almost every day. I'm keeping up with the scene and the creators and the pros, and I know that the NHL in the past hasn't given them as much, light and shine as I'm sure we'd all like. But I know that progress has started to be made in that area. I know the NHL is putting a lot more focus into it than they had recently, and that certainly has me optimistic, because I think as well, to kind of tie up my point, something that makes gaming so popular is that it's able to, in the majority of the common games that are popular, like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, whatever they may be, you have the casual content creation and you have the stars for the hardcore, enthusiasts, right? You've got the people who are just interested in logging on after work and playing their games of Warzone, and there's a world for them to engage and dig deeper, but there's also a thriving competitive scene for the people who care more about it. And I think those things go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And it's no secret or surprise that the competitive scene has been a massive pillar of a lot of the most popular games in the world for over a decade, whether that's League of Legends, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, you name it. And I think that that's a big part of NHL as well, whether it's this game, sports games, but even just kind of bridging the audiences, is making sure there's something for the casual and the enthusiast kind of at the same time. And that's why with our esports night with the Islanders, we're not just showing up and selling something. We're there to watch Regs and Eki, and that's actually, frankly, the thing I'm most excited about too.
Yeah. Like shout out to the fellow olds that own an NES like me, but play Fortnite. No build squads every day.
I thought you were I thought you rigged it so you're playing Fortnite on the
NES,
dude, and it's like
no build has brought me back to that game in a way I did not expect to come back to. Now I am not getting completely schooled by 11-year-olds that know how to build. Now it's just me running around shooting stuff. That's all I ever want.
But are you winning?
Of course I'm winning.
No, he's not. He's lying. Come on.
I mean,
as you didn't take a screen grab and put it on social media, did it happen?
I have many screen grabs. Okay. But as you know, it's entirely contingent on what squad you're placed in. I don't play with a squad. I get randomly placed. So if I'm with a bunch of clowns that just want to run around and drive cars, of course I'm not winning. If I'm with a tightly tuned machine,
you got to find your squad.
It's a royale.
Find your squad.
So like you mentioned, it's going to be a great blend of casual but fun content creation and top level competition.
Yes.
The best player in Europe is playing the best player in North America on December 6th in NHL 23. And these two have been the best for a very long time. So this could be considered a world championship match, so to speak.
No, it
So,
frankly is. And again, that kind of speaks to the point that I was making, is where, you know, the Islanders and their esports related efforts have this phenomenal pillar of what is the unofficial world championship of the game. And we're using a cross collaboration with the biggest brand in gaming and esports to come in and drive attention towards the night that isn't officially related to that, but is part of it. There will be more gaming fans in the building that night through our affinity with them and relationship with them that may have had no idea that there's even an NHL championship at all, or maybe they don't know about Reg Zanecki, but they were there to see us, and we're here to see Reg Zanecki, and now they're invested, now they're interested. And again, that's something that really excites me, because I personally have been wanting to see this match for like 6 months.
no kidding.
These are the two best players in the world, undisputed.
Yeah.
So
December 6th, FaZe Clan in collaboration with the New York Islanders Esports Night. CBass will be there. A bunch of other FaZe content creators will be there as well. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute blast. CBass, really appreciate you joining us here on The Drop. You got to come back. I'd actually come back after the night so that we can have a little bit of a post-mortem, and then we can talk more about the giant mansion that we met at. That is hockey heaven.
I would love to anytime.